Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.
All right. Hey, Paul, we're back on the mics again. Happy to see you. How are things in Pemberton?
Yeah, good, buddy. Bit rainy today, which is nice. It's been super sunny and hot all summer. So, yeah, things are great. Doing good.
Awesome. I think we just need to get right into this. We got two wonderful guests today. We want to introduce to everybody, and we have a great topic here um, for our listeners. So, Paul, could you introduce our guest for us?
We have two of the loveliest people in mountain biking that I met quite a long time ago, running PMBI instructor courses. And really, my thought was to get a conversation around women in coaching or more women in coaching. And, it's something that's near and dear to me and something that we're really passionate about in GSMBC. And I thought, a cool thing to do is, well, let's talk to two women that inspire me and have been incredible in their contributions to the sport and contributions to coaching, and they're fantastic. So we have Lindsey from Ladies All Ride, and we have Katie Holden, the brains and the support behind things like the formation events and women in Redbull Rampage. So I might just pass it over to maybe Lindsey first, and you can perhaps introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us a bit about your background and what do you do in today's industry. So thank you for coming on the show, Lindsey. It's awesome to see you and have you here. We're very lucky.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here. Quick background. I was an athlete in high school and then I wasn't in college. And after college, I felt like something was really missing from my life. I lost my fitness. I feel like I lost my self-esteem. I was kind of spinning in the corporate America. And so I started taking spin class at lunch. This was in the 90s, early 90s. And spin class led me to think, you know what? I need a sport. I think I'm going to race mountain bikes. So I picked up a hardtail at the local shop, and about 1995, I started racing mountain bikes around Oregon. We barely even had single track. And I just jumped right in because I wanted a way to get my fitness back. And I thought if I started racing cross country mountain bikes, that would force me to go to spin class every day and train. And that just catapulted me into this whole new world. I ended up on the TV show Survivor using my mountain bike as my audition video because I thought that was unique. That was in the early 2000s. And
is that on YouTube, that episode of Survivor?
Oh, that season? It's somewhere.
Yeah.
I've
never. I always know you've been on that show, but I've never actually watched it. I might have to dig it up and see if I can find it.
I was a 25-year-old loudmouth. I don't even want to. Yeah, I was a very different person, but that is what led to where I'm at today. Really, it's the only reason I mention it because I grew up in Oregon and I moved to LA for Survivor stuff, and it was awful. I'd already dealt with mental health issues. I was dealing with depression in college. I got kicked out of my sorority. Talk about not feeling like you fit in. And it was mental
Yeah.
health related. No one understood me. So when I moved to LA for Survivor auditions and whatever I was doing in LA, it was more rejection, more you don't fit in here. And the
Mm,
one thing that made me feel complete was I would go race my mountain bike. And
mm.
I went to the Sea Otter Classic in 2002. I had no idea what I was about to encounter. All the team tents and the banners and the pro riders. I didn't know that world really existed. I was in my little bubble in Oregon. And from there, I met and married a pro downhill racer within 2 years and got kind of tossed into the mountain bike industry. I started managing his race career and throughout the next decade of my life, traveling all over the country, representing kind of racing. We started the All Ride Tour, which was actually his idea to be more than a racer and to act more as an ambassador. So, and this was in the early 2000s before even demo programs were happening. So we took a fleet of 22 Santa Cruz demo bikes around the country, and he raced World Cups and did things like Red Bull Rampage. And I promoted him as an ambassador, and we sort of developed this program to be ambassadors and not just racers. We sponsored a kids team. One of our kids was Richie Rude. I mean, Richie Rude, Sierra Smith. We had this whole slew of racers who Richie Rude went on to do amazing things. And I really got to know the bike industry. I got to know how the ins and outs of sponsorship. And through my journey, I would look around at these races, and while all the women who raced were very welcoming and kind to me, they were freaking intimidating. They were
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really find anyone who just wanted to ride for fun. And honestly, that's around when I met Katie, was early 2000. She
Mm.
was a young racer as well. And I'll never forget, Katie, when you broke your wrist and your boyfriend at the time was like, can you go be like a mom to Katie right now? I'm like, me? A mom? And, I got to know all these young kids who were so determined. And Katie and I both were kind of like, where are all the women in this sport? And for me, I just wanted to find people to ride with. And so fast forward to 2010, that's right around when I started learning about coaching. Around 2007, I volunteered for the Dirt Series. They were one of the first traveling mountain bike skills camps. And that's when my eyes opened up. And then I came and took a PMBI course with you, Paul, and learning how to coach mountain biking. Because here I was surrounded by these amazing pro riders, but none of them were really articulating any skills to me or giving me any advice on how to ride better. I was hearing things like, "Oh, you got it. Your bike knows what to do. Just do what I do." I'm like, "You're a World Cup downhill racer. I can't see you." And this is before social media, before videos, and so I took that PMBI course with you, Paul, and my coach Erica and I looked at each other and I said, women don't know this stuff. This is my calling. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I think if I build it, they will come and I will find friends to ride with, and I
Mm.
will be able to have a voice for
Yeah.
women in mountain biking that illuminates the emotional side of mountain biking, not just, the advertising back in those days. Rampage was just starting. So all the
Yeah.
marketing and advertising around mountain biking was men hucking cliff jumps. It was
Yeah.
racing for a while. Maybe Marla Streb got a cover, or Missy Giove, but it was mostly showcasing men racing and now men free riding. And I was like, that's
Mm.
not going to encourage women to get into this
Mm.
sport. So Ladies All Ride was born in 2010 as a means to find friends to ride with, first and foremost,
Yeah.
but also after learning from you how to articulate skills. It gave me a deeper understanding of the sport, and it made me want to do this for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. I do love your story, and it's interesting. Even I could relate a little bit there in terms of like, back in the day where mountain biking was, it was a lot of like, and it still is really like free ride events, rampage racing, and even for me living in Whistler, everything is so intense. Everything's about competition and pros, and I can totally relate to this idea that like, I just want to go biking, and I just want to go get better and have fun, but I don't want to race. I don't want to compete. So I can totally relate to that part of the story. Katie, the legend that you are, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do today as well.
Yeah, I guess in a nutshell, I discovered mountain biking in 2002 when my original high school camp was canceled and I ended up on a bike trip, and I rode Whistler Bike Park that year for the first time and have been riding it ever since. And I would say the Whistler Bike Park has just been this kind of red thread throughout my entire career and experience, and it's so important to me. It's how we met Paul, and I've met so many folks in the community. But kind of starting out at that period, there wasn't really social media. I mean, I guess like Facebook was kind of getting
Mm.
going, but the way to connect with people was to just show up at events and just be there in person. And that's really how I got to know people. And I started racing, not only because I wanted to race, but because I wanted to meet people and ride new courses and experience new places and all of these things. And so, yeah, I spent quite a long period racing, internationally, nationally, locally, all the things. Did some urban races in the mix. Um, and then in 2010, I went to Red Bull Rampage for the first time, and I had my mind blown. And it just kind of opened up all these things in my head, and I was like, I want to be a free rider. And that really wasn't a possibility at that period of time. And so I basically spent 2 years after that trying to learn and build everything I could on my resume in hopes that in a couple of years my sponsors or the industry would be able to see me in that light. So I learned all sorts of media skills, like taking photos, videos, writing, coaching, just kind of this huge array of skills so that I could be of value. I mean, they were really incredible skills to learn, and I'm happy that I learned all of them, but also it was like kind of I wanted to be the biggest asset that I could to my partners and hopefully create a path for myself. And so coaching was very much part of that. I learned so much through coaching, just about communicating with people and how to create space and make the sport safer and more inclusive and all of these other things. And I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, in 2012, I felt like all the stars kind of aligned, and I got this incredible opportunity to join the LIVE program. So that was starting in 2013. And I've kind of gone on this crazy journey ever since. I started formation, and well, my Red Bull Rampage dreams to be a part of that as an athlete never came into fruition, but I helped to create formation, and seeing all the girls now is so much better than I could have ever dreamed. Like that means so much more to me than if I had achieved that personally. So yeah, we created formation in 2019, and we had 3 iterations of that, and it's been really cool to see kind of things branch off and all these women create really cool events. And just, I mean, the field is so deep and talented, and there's just so much energy and community and cool things happening in that space right now. And so, yeah, last fall, the women were included in Rampage for the first time, with equal pay and all the things.
When that happened, how did that feel like? Because that's such a huge moment in our sport, and you're one of the most humble people I've met, and I feel like you don't get enough credit for your contribution to that. But for you, like in that moment, how did that happen? Or how did that feel when that happened?
Oh, it was very emotional.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If I'm honest, I cried for days.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
Katie,
can believe it.
you're leaving out the fact that you went out to Rampage and you rode those lines and you
Yeah.
tried to get into that event physically, not just trying to rally for yourself. You don't leave that out, dude. You went out there
Yeah.
and you wrecked yourself at times to get into Rampage, and that is freaking impressive. So you
Yeah.
are one of the pioneers who showed what is possible. Don't leave that out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lindsey. No,
Yeah.
I mean, like I kind of have my own experiences through that, but I think that just the people and the community and just seeing everyone rise and empower one another and cheer for one another and just create spaces in their own respective towns or communities, like that's just been the most incredible part, and that I think is my favorite part of all of this.
That's the highlight, and I think it also how that will also feed into other events like Casey Brown's events or Hannah Bergman. She's just done the Hang Time event. Like the fact that women in Rampage are now, I believe, and I'm already seeing that those other events will start to get bigger and
Totally.
better supported, because ultimately that's a feeder or a feeder stream for women in Rampage, right? Which is, obviously that's the top tier event. But yeah, massive kudos to you. And it doesn't surprise me too, because I remember watching you on that level 2 course in Worcester years ago, and we were on McSkimming Rock, and the goal was to go down the rock as slowly as you can as like a braking exercise for coaching. And without doubt, there was some shredders on that course, and the person with the most skill and finesse was Katie. She absolutely smashed it. That sticks out in my mind all the time, was watching you, and it was slightly greasy that day as well. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone go down there with so much brake control. It was pretty sick.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks.
Yeah, so two absolute legends. We're super lucky to have you on the podcast today, and getting back to our topic, which is really women in coaching, and ideally more women in coaching. And maybe Lindsey, if we start with you for a second, how has coaching influenced you? You talked about it a little bit before, but how has it influenced you as a rider, and where do you see the value in coaching today, specifically for just participation in the sport?
I mean, learning how to coach changed my riding first and foremost. When you have to practice skills in a organized fashion and then learn how to articulate what you're doing, that totally elevated my own riding. And I tell people that if you learn to coach, you're going to take your riding to the next level. Learning the language behind it and then really diving into that deeper understanding of what has to happen to have skills, it blew my mind. And I don't think I would be the rider I am today without having learned how to coach. I see a lot of people come to our camps who have 11 plus years of mountain biking under their belts who've never been coached. And it's really easy to develop bad habits. It's really easy to ride without an understanding of what you actually did to make it through. And over time, I'm seeing how dangerous that can be. This sport is no joke. And I think that's something that I grapple with. We see a lot of crashes when we're coaching. That's just how it is. We've had our own crashes. And I really want people to understand that mountain biking it's not like falling on snow. When you fall on a mountain bike, you can break things, you bleed, we're a different breed of humans. But I love it so much. It's what I promote to women, why we should do it. We should be putting ourselves out of our comfort zones. We should be doing things that challenge us and push us. That's how we grow as humans. And if we can do that in a sport like mountain biking, it's inevitable that it's going to translate into life. So being coached taught me how to ride. It taught me how to articulate the skills. But most importantly, it gave me this really deep understanding of what it takes to be a good mountain biker. And the cool thing about it is it's a never ending journey. It's constant progress. I still crash every now and then. I'm better at crashing. You get better at crashing over time. But yeah, I really believe in coaching so that people can ride for life, not just for a season,
Yeah. And you kind of alluded to it there too. It's a little bit about mental health. I was listening to a podcast the other day about anxiety, and one of the common themes that came through that was, avoidance just makes things more scary or more fearful. And one of the challenges in today's world is people are too comfortable with being comfortable. And if you want to build that kind of mental fortitude and that resilience to fear, and even embracing anxiety and seeing anxiety as a positive thing, not a negative thing, like we need to do things on a regular basis that are challenging and obviously still want them to be safe. And I think that's where the coaching piece comes in, is because I totally agree with you. Mountain biking's hard and it's scary and we can get really hurt. But if we break it down, it can be as safe as going on a hike, right? Plenty of people are happy to get off the couch and go for a hike, but they look at mountain biking as this big scary thing. And I'm like, well, it's no more or less dangerous, really, if you just have a good trail and a good progression like it. So in terms of that mental health piece, is that something you bring into your coaching and your programs through Ladies All Ride? Like how does that factor into your sort of coaching philosophies, I guess?
I mean, it's at the forefront, to be honest with you. Dealing with my own mental health issues, getting kicked out of my sorority, I do believe, looking back, it was because there was a lack of understanding and a lack of communication about mental health. There was a lot of shame around it. I've learned more about controlling my thoughts because of mountain biking than any therapy has ever taught me. You cannot be thinking about what your face is going to look like if you hit that tree that you're staring at. That doesn't work, right? You have to keep your thoughts in the positive. You have to keep your eyes looking ahead at where you want to go. And that concept alone, I don't think people understand the skill in that. If you're about to crash and you look over the edge where you don't want to go, that is where you're going to go. And taking a step back and realizing that when you can keep your brain and your thoughts and your eyes focused on where you need to be going, that helps take the fear out of it. That keeps action steps at the forefront. So one of our biggest things, our tagline is ride bikes, be happy, because riding bikes makes us happy. But it's also that mental health is a big problem today. And it's something that we need to be talking about. And when you can put yourself in a situation where you are forced to only think thoughts that serve you, the thoughts that keep your wheels rolling forward, that translates into life, because it shows you that you are capable of controlling your thoughts. You are capable of doing hard things and learning how to believe in yourself. And the whole fear thing, I went through divorce after 15 years, and it was probably the hardest time of my life. And I realized that a lot of that was fear of not being loved again, fear of being judged, of having the big divorce on my forehead. And fear is a state of mind. Fear is something that we create. And when you actually look at the steps that need to happen to get through, that keeps your mind busy with things that need to happen now, instead of being stuck in this fear-based state of mind that isn't actually real. And that's mountain biking taught me a lot about controlling my thoughts and believing in myself and realizing what I'm capable of. And we want that for more women, because I realize that a lot of women out there don't talk about this stuff, and they're living in this silent pain. And when they come to a mountain bike skills camp and you tell them we're going to ride down that rock garden, and they look at you like, oh, hell no, I'm not riding down that rock garden. And then they practice the moves to get through, and they think only thoughts that serve them, and then they accomplish it. That is a measurable, tangible progression that brings joy, confidence, excitement into their lives. And that is something they can always pull from. When I was going through divorce, my bike was always there for me. I could control my attitude. I could control how hard I rode my bike, when I rode my bike, who I rode my bike with. There are so many things in this world that I feel like we don't think we have control of, but we have control over riding our bikes and the community we surround ourselves with. So not only did I find the mental health component of mountain biking so important to be a voice for, but I also found community. People like Katie and I met you almost 2 decades ago at this point, and we've supported each other and watched each other grow. We were both sponsored by Live at the same time, and got to go to these events where we were witnesses of women's lives being changed simply because they learned that they're capable of more than they thought.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I've seen something similar through everything I've been doing. It's so much more about just riding a bike on the trails, like the way it influences your mental health, your ability to deal with life off the bike, even just the physical side, like just get the blood pumping, get more oxygen in your brain. There's so many benefits to exercise. We don't need to go on that, but like you add all of these things up, and I think getting people into the sport, it's more about just doing the sport. It's really about how it grows, not just their life, but the community as well. I think that's the biggest impact we've seen over the years with instructor training courses, is how it's impacted communities beyond just sort of individuals as well. And I love that. I love that link that you have there too with mental health. That's particularly a huge one for us, and definitely the future of mountain bike coaching is bringing in mental skills.
Well, it's a lifestyle. I don't even
Yeah.
refer to it as a sport anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. And Katie can speak to that as well, with this whole new movement of women in freeride, them getting together to run these events and participate in these events together. That's community. That's a lifestyle. You probably look forward to those events. There's a high when you're at these events, that we're all connecting over this crazy sport that we all love so much, that brings so much joy and honestly just fun into our lives. What a fun way to get fit. What a fun way to work on your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep going back to that Top Gun line lately, where Maverick is like, I'm not, well, I can't remember the line now, so I'm going to mess it up, but it's something along the lines of like, being a pilot is not what I do, it's who I am. And I kind of think of that with mountain biking and mountain bike coaching, it's not just something I do. It's who I am. It is that lifestyle, like you talk about.
I love this idea of bringing in the transcendence of mountain bike skills to life skills, and how what we learn on the bike and with control, especially how we can then shape what we do. Oftentimes, we need mentors. We need to see people that are doing it ahead of us to get inspired and with this. And Katie, I'm really curious. As a woman in freeride, like who did you look to get inspired to make this step into, one of the most challenging disciplines within this thing that we do?
Yeah, I mean, I've been inspired by so many women over the years. I mean, particularly obviously in the free ride and the downhill space, but I think in terms of kind of actually kind of having the confidence to go down that route, I would really tie that back to Rebecca Rush, and I think that Lindsey can relate to that. Rebecca Rush,
totally.
Yeah, she started the Gold Rush tour with SRAM back in what year was it? Like 2008?
2010, maybe. Yeah, I think 2010 when it was all getting started, when it was gaining momentum. But she started racing a little bit before that.
Yeah, so she had basically in a nutshell, she had this program she developed with SRAM to bring more women into the sport and kind of help to develop and create paths. Like I think Sea Otter was the first event. So prior to that, I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine now, but prior to that, there were very few women's events at mountain biking events. So we had rides, there were speaker panels, there were like meet and greets, all sorts of things. Lindsey was a part of it. Kate Courtney was a part of it. I mean, so many badass athletes that have kind of gone through not just mountain biking, but road and gravel as well. They all kind of filtered through that program. And through that program, I learned a lot about like what it means to be an athlete for the long term, what it means to create space for other people, what it means to lift as you rise, what it means to like have the confidence to kind of stand up for yourself and to advocate for yourself in the spaces that you want to be a part of. And I feel like I was lacking a lot of those skills, kind of especially early on in my career. And also, I would also say that I was I mean, Lindsey, I think you can relate to this too. We were all kind of protective of our spaces at that period of time because it felt like there were so many, the opportunities were so limited. So it felt like, there's only room for X amount of girls on each team or with each program. And so it felt like kind of prior to coming into Rebecca's orbit, like everyone was a little bit more protective. And that program just cracked open my entire world and taught me that if you are creating more space for other people, that we all actually rise. Like we all started getting more opportunities and making more money and having more sponsors and all of these other things. And that was because we were all working together and we were all creating events together and more spaces together. And I mean, I remember like going into that and Reba was like introducing me to her sponsors and this and that. And here I am kind of like this naive Grom back in the day thinking like, well, what if they choose me and not her? Like thinking kind of like so short-sighted, but like Reba kind of just, I mean, she just like had the vision and the experience to know like this is how the world works and things work and I want to lead by example. So all that is to say, I feel like having that kind of foundation and we had this community through Reba that really kind of gave me the springboard to really pursue the free ride stuff and recognize that if I created these opportunities and kind of built out the space around me and helped to lift the folks around me and advocated for myself, that there's a good chance that those doors would start to open. And I didn't know what those doors would look like, but like you open one door and then you walk forward and then you open another door and you just kind of keep going forward. So I don't know if that completely answers that question, but
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks. Can you elaborate a little bit more about this idea of lifting as you rise? Like, what does that in practicality look like for you as as a rider now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, this is like a Reba phrase that is like literally embedded into everything that I do now.
I
Um,
love that phrase, by the way. As soon as you heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's pure gold.
yeah, I think it's like as you grow and you develop and you take steps forward and like as you kind of get up on the get up another notch, it's like your responsibility and duty and also like makes life better if you kind of reach down and grab the folks alongside you and like reach out and also lead by example so that those folks do the same thing too. So like as you get more opportunities, you're creating more opportunities for other people and like that's kind of an active cycle. It's not just like a passive thing. It's like constantly looking, right? How am I going to make this space? How am I going to make this community better? What's going to have an impact on the future?
Yeah, it seems like a bit of an opposition to competition, where it's, like scarcity mindset, like I'm going to get mine, and that's what matters the most. This is something that's dramatically different than that. Do you have any examples of anybody that maybe you've helped along the way, in this regard?
Yeah, and also just one note on the competition. I think that like I mean competition is you can have both at once. It's not like you can't have them together. And in fact, I think that it's actually
Mm.
quite important. I mean, I mean, look at all the girls and guys at the World Cup level. They're all competing with each other day after day, coming down to hundredths of a second. And like as soon as that competition ends, they're riding together, they're training with each other, they're supporting one another, they're elevating one another, and like competition is an important part of it. Like that's what makes us all better. And competition doesn't have to be like racing the clock. It can be, I mean, oh, I think we're competitive human beings in life, right? Like there's all
Yeah.
sorts of types of competition. Um, I mean, I guess like an example of lifting as you rise. I mean, I guess I could kind of um like I mean tie that back to some of the freeride stuff with like formation and all the kind of wings that have branched out from that. Like I definitely feel um I mean I just want to see those girls succeed so bad.
Yeah.
And like anything that I can do to kind of teach them and empower them and introduce them to folks and open doors, like I definitely like that's something I absolutely want to do and be a part of. And um,
I love that. I love that outlook that you have on competition because that, I mirror that. I feel that. I feel like the traditional sense of competition or the common opinion about competition for someone that hasn't done a race or a competition before is that it's very cutthroat. It's all about yourself and beating everyone else. So in a sense, it's almost the opposite to community. It's opposite to collaboration, and it's this kind of classic sort of in a way like an old school view of what competition is, and that for me is what I love about mountain biking is especially downhill. It's you're literally on the track helping your friends with line choices.
mm-hmm.
You're out there helping kids with line choices. Even athletes on the same team are helping each other. Like it's all this collaboration and community. But then when it comes to the race run, it's goggles on, do your best. But if you're rising all of your competitors,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna rise yourself, because if everyone else is faster or better, then for you to win, you need to get faster and better. So for me, it's like if you genuinely want to get better, then one of the best ways to do it is to make your competitors better, because then you have no choice but to evolve and level up, right? So I love that idea of, in a way, hopefully that helps for the listeners, like paint the idea that competition can be a community-based thing. It can be about connections. It can be about helping other people. It's not necessarily this sort of cutthroat, selfish concept. I think that perhaps a lot of people maybe look at it in that way.
Well, and I love, Katie, how you bring up, Rebecca. I think that was such a good example of Rebecca came from like eco challenge adventure racing, where she
Mm.
was highly competitive. And then when she started racing, long form mountain biking, like 24-hour races and marathon races, and she started the SRAM Gold Rush Tour. I mean, remember, Katie, she was like, I don't know anything about technical mountain biking. She had never ridden downhill before, and she
Yeah.
ran a SRAM Gold Rush event at Crankworks. And she's like, I'm going to need you all to take on the downhill part. But what was beautiful about it was she showed us humility. She showed us that she
Mm.
was humble and that she was real, that I can pedal my bike for hours and I can deal with the pain and suffering, but I don't know how to ride technical downhill. So I'm going to pass that torch over to you. She was open to us teaching her and helping her learn, which I think, as Katie said in the beginning, we were all kind of pining for sponsors because back in the day, there was one or two women on every race team. So how are we to know that that wasn't going to be the same with these women's programs? They're going to pick one women's program and then that's it. You're shit out of luck. And I think that Rebecca's program really showed Katie and I both that, wow, this incredible racer that has so many accomplishments is admitting that she's not a good technical mountain biker. And she's being
Yeah.
really humble about it. And she's giving us the platform to help where our expertise is, which is technical mountain
Mm.
biking. And that is where I really learned to stop feeling competitive about sponsorship and to start opening the doors for others, like the kids program we had, Sierra Smith and Richie Rude, and giving our experience to others so that they had a path to work
Mm.
from. And I cherish those days, Katie. Those were such great days where we're guiding
So good.
rides, not knowing where we're going, getting lost with the CEO of Giant, having to turn around because we're going the wrong way on the Sea Otter course. And but at the end of the day, it was still fun. We all still had fun because that's the name of the game. And when your leader is showing you humility and how to be humble and lifting others up, it can't help but translate down to all of us. And that's, I feel like, what I've seen Katie do. And then through coaching, I'm hoping to elevate, thousands of women to just help them find the
Mm.
joy in the lifestyle of mountain biking. And it's super awesome that we had a role model to get us there. And now we get to pay it forward.
That's awesome. And I love that point there too on like essentially what you're doing is taking the intimidation away and just saying, you know what, it doesn't matter who we are or how good we are, we're here to have fun. And I think that can be what is sometimes the barrier to people either coming into the free ride stream or the competitive stream or even into coaching and coach certifications is is I think we need to do a better job of like whatever we're doing, whether it's competing or coaching or certifications, it's still just biking. And really, we're just a bunch of goofballs riding around in the woods. Like that's that's at the heart of mountain biking is we're not serious people. Otherwise, we'd probably be like, I don't know, playing golf or
Golfing. Yeah.
working in a bank or like, the whole point of mountain biking is we don't like to sort of go the regular path, right? We like to just go out and chill and have fun, right? And so it's important that I think that element is constantly communicated to either potentially new athletes or new riders or new coaches. Like, don't stress about it. We're all just a bunch of idiots having fun on two wheels.
I I kind of on that note, I have this I don't know that I call it a life motto, but it's something I kind of think about all the time. And it's like you never hold on to anything too tight, or you just can't grasp anything too tight. So like for example, if you have sand and you hold it too tight, it goes out of your hand, and if you hold it too loose, it goes out of your hand. So like keep a grip on things, but not too tight. And I think that that goes for like positioning in the industry or sponsors, or whether it's like a feature that you really want to do and like maybe it's just not for you. There's just all these things that kind of come at you on frankly a daily basis, and some of those things aren't yours for the keeping. So you kind of take what um feels good and what serves you, and other things maybe they're better off with the person next to you.
It runs true with holding onto your grips too. Don't hold on
Yeah.
too tight. Don't just grip the bars.
Yeah.
I
It is
love
true.
that. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Some more gold from Katie there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
How that's totally awesome. How do we get more women into coaching and free riding?
Mhm.
I
How
mean,
does
coaching, I feel like
In
taking a
2 minutes, in
lesson.
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Okay,
we
yeah.
could literally talk about this for like 4 hours, but yeah.
I mean, I think by taking a lesson and being coached, I'm seeing it personally that people who take a lesson are like, "Oh my God, I want to do this. I want to do what you're doing." And so just by showing up and taking a lesson, it does inspire women to want to coach. They see the impact it has on the collective, they feel the impact it has on them. They feel our enthusiasm and excitement around coaching. I mean, I'm 51 at this point, and I'm like, how much longer do I have to do this? And I feel tired before a camp because I run a lot of camps, but the second I see those women and I stand in front of them, that goes away. And the genuine enthusiasm and energy I have for coaching this sport takes over. And I think they feel that energy and they want that energy, and that encourages them to get behind the scenes and learn how to coach.
Awesome.
Love it. What
Um,
are, like I was
okay.
going to say for Katie, like what are your thoughts with like the free ride side?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the grassroots events the huge have a huge opportunity to bring folks into the sport. I mean, even just going to Hannah Bergman's Hang Time event this last weekend.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know a lot of the girls, but there was this whole crew of younger girls who many of them I'd never even seen or heard of before, and they're all just sending all the big jumps. So it's creating that kind of like welcoming new folks in and kind of them having the opportunity to have mentorship, whether that's formal or informal mentorship with some of the more experienced girls, like that really creates the bridge. And I'm sure those girls are going to be the girls vying for Rampage spots in a couple of years here. So there's things like that. I think, I mean, if you're going like even to another step, you've got the like ladies' nights, you've got just like jump jam nights in local communities. You've got social gatherings that aren't even on the bike, whether it's like films or panels or meetups or whatever. I think it's just like creating in-person touch points where people can kind of create those like human connections in person, and then things kind of branch off
Mhm.
from there. But I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Please.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I think like the digital component is really important in that we can all see one another digitally. And I think that that is a huge part of the progression and the connection and all of that. But I think connecting with folks in person and creating those friendships in person. I mean, maybe it will take a while. Like maybe you're Instagram friends with someone for a year before you actually are able to connect in person because of geographic circumstances or whatever. But I think that creating those in-person connections, and that's like when all the ideas swirl, and that's when progression happens. And I feel like that's when like all these magic moments happen. So yeah,
That's
in-person connection, however big or small.
yeah,
Well, and there's definitely truth to if she can do it, I can do it. And
yeah.
if I see
Absolutely.
it, I can be it.
It's
And
it's
that's
huge.
important. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it's interesting. It's been interesting for me the last little bit because I have a 12-ish, 13-year-old daughter, and it's been really cool watching her progressions through the sport and how much like if I kind of as a dad I kind of think back like how would that have gone if we were like 10, 15 years ago
Hmm.
and women weren't in Redbull slopestyle, Crankworx slopestyle, or they weren't in Rampage, or they weren't doing these events. Like she's been able to grow up, and I've been able to show her as much of women mountain biking as I can show my son boys mountain biking. And the cool thing now that's happening is my son is inspired by men and women. Like he looks up to some female riders and he's like, holy cow, that's sick. Like Hannah
That's so
Bergman and some, and that hasn't existed before. And seeing that impact just on, close to home for me, on my family with the kids. And I think it's such a huge, to your point of like the digital side, like seeing it is such a key thing, and having that representation for women and girls, to see that other girls and women are jumping off cliffs, and coaching, from the coaching background, like that's something we can get into a little bit more as well. But seeing it is the first step to believing that you can do it, and seeing that firsthand is huge.
Well, and I think also just making sure that, I fought against Rampage. That's the funny part, is that I knew how much money was going into Rampage in the early 2000s. And one of my arguments in sponsorship meetings was, can't you just take a little bit of that to give
Mm.
to a women's program? Because that is not going to encourage, you are not speaking to
Yeah.
women. Back in that day, I didn't feel like they were speaking to women. And my
Well, they
job, I
weren't.
feel, no, they weren't. Someone like Katie had this vision because that was in her to want to do that stuff, where I'm a bit older than Katie. I never had that desire to go big. I just wanted to be really skilled. And I was at an event once, and someone asked me, are you going to hit the pro jump line with the doubles? And I was like, no, They're like, oh, don't you want to progress your riding? And I felt a little offended by that, because my idea of progression for me is being able to go ride all these places around the world and have the same skills apply to whatever is in front of me, and to be able to drop into a line blind and know that I'll be able to see what I need to do and make it happen. That's how I progress my riding, is riding lines blind and feeling like I have skills, not going bigger or hitting the gnarly gaps or the gnarly drops. And so I feel like I want to be a voice for those riders who don't have those goals. They just want to be able to go out and ride a green trail at 65 years old with their
Mm.
girlfriends.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 74-year-olds coming to our camps who are amazing women, who they know their limits. They know they only are going to ride green trails, but they're still out there mountain
Mhm.
biking. And we like to make sure that women hear this, that just the fact that you're picking up a mountain bike, you're a badass. And you make it your ride. You ride your ride, whatever that looks like for you, that's enough. And
Mm.
I love that that's what Katie's doing, is helping this younger generation who do have these big goals to do more, to ride the big lines and hit jumps. And we're showing that there's a space for all of it. You're seeing all different levels of riding and realizing that mountain biking isn't just one thing. It's whatever you want it to be. And that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah.
I
And
love
I
I,
love that. Christian, go for it,
yeah, I
man.
love this idea of like thinking back to early 2000s and arguing against the rampage in that sense that you talk about, Lindsay. And like, how does it feel now to have been so instrumental in the movement for laying the foundation for women in coaching and riding, to see what Katie and her cohorts are doing now? Like, how does that feel to you personally?
Oh, it gives me goosebumps. I mean, I'm really connected to it through Katie, because I saw her firsthand trying to ride Rampage. I saw her hurt herself riding some of those big lines and getting back up and not giving up. And there was this determination in her that I didn't feel like I had at that level of riding, that was so impressive. And so to see what she's gone through, the trials and tribulations, and let me tell you, there was a lot of tribulations, there was a lot of heartache with her putting so much heart and soul into it and continuously feeling defeated, but then never giving up on it. And so I think that's what gives me the most chills, is have been able to witness someone so determined, not just for herself and her own goals, but to be a person that people could look up to pave the way. And it has changed my opinion on Rampage. I still struggle with it. They're going big and they get hurt and it's stressful. But I also think that you do you, if that's the kind of riding you want to do, well, you've got this great mentor who's here to help guide you. And it's truly been an honor to watch this awesome woman go from, I mean, I met her when she was like 19 as a, kid racer, to building these building blocks and finding the confidence to have a voice in a male dominated sport, where a lot of our conversations were with men, and I don't mean to put men down in any way, but we weren't speaking to women who were making decisions in this industry. And we also got to witness the industry start hiring women who were making decisions, and we were able to start meeting with more women. I mean, Liv was the pioneer for that. We both got on Liv around the same time, her a little ahead of me, but it was we were speaking to women, and these women wanted to elevate our voices, and then we wanted to elevate each other's voices. And so it's been really cool to see that, again, I don't have to fight against anything anymore. There's room for all of it. And I feel like between Katie and I and this huge slew of women who are being voices for the sport from all different angles, we've got the long distance racing, the gravel racing, we've got free ride stuff. We've got just going out and riding a green trail. There's a voice for all of it now, and that's been really cool to be a witness to.
Mhm.
Katie, in your view, what should men know in order to better support women in free ride? Like, what should we as coaches, we as men riders know?
Um, I mean, I think a lot of the girls and women don't oftentimes like don't want to be kind of singled out and the things separated at times. Like I think that especially you're going to events like Rampage or the Nines or whatever, and everyone's like really working collaboratively together. But I think that there is room and opportunity for there to be, I don't even know if I'm answering this question, I guess, but to be included more in like the decision making processes of like how things actually happen, whether it's like course development or like how they're showing up in media or like how much practice like feels right prior to whatever event or to achieve X goal. I think that there's still like some disconnect there. I think in terms of like the riding on the day to day and the progression, I think that like folks like really love to just be intertwined and work together, and there not really be boundaries between the two. But I do think, especially like on the performance side, that um I mean, you really kind of have to look at the big picture of like that there's kind of been decades of underinvestment in women's sports, and it's not like you can just like flip the switch and things are going to be solved immediately. I think that there's like a bit of a runway for that to kind of catch up, and also part of that is including women in the decision making and having those conversations and making sure that they're set up for success, be it the course or the practice schedule or all these other things. I think that like that's probably like the biggest thing that I see right now is that I feel like that's kind of like a missing link. So more support there.
Yeah, I agree. It's really like I think what you're speaking to is like just a seat at the table and making sure there's more representation
Correct.
there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those in that kind of decision making tier of whatever it is, whether it's a race or an event or a coaching or whatever.
Yeah. And to Lindsay's point, I mean, it's been so incredible to see. I mean, not just like at events, but just leadership positions within brands. Like that has been a huge shift over our career, and just to see so many women in leadership positions, um, is so amazing and makes a world of difference.
Well, and it just creates a space where it's apart from anything else, it's just more inviting. If more
Yeah.
if more women are at those kind of higher level management type
Mhm.
decisions, it's going to invite more women to come in from the sort of start of that runway upwards, right?
Mhm.
Lindsey, how's that sit with you and your perspective?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree completely. I was part of the racing scene in the 90s and the early 2000s when there was literally one woman on each team and
Hmm.
no women running the teams, no women making sponsorship decisions, hardly any women working for the companies. So I think it does start at the higher level, having women decision makers within these companies, within these brands. And then having men supporting the women, just like Katie said, like inviting them to the table. Are they judging? Are they sitting at the judges' table? Are they a part of the process that goes into these events and the courses? Do they feel comfortable with everything that's being built? And do they have a say?
Hmm.
So yeah, I will say as a coach, it's been kind of interesting because we do an intake form of what people's skill goals are, and lately there's been a lot of I want to learn to tail whip, and we're like, do you know what you're saying?
Yeah.
You know what a tail whip is. Even I know what a tail whip is. I don't think that's what you want to learn.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool though, because we're seeing that people are seeing what's possible,
Yeah.
and they're seeing it from the men's side and the women's side now. And it is so different when a woman sees another woman do it. I just had a woman tell me this the other day. Like, I was out on this trail and there was this line and my husband did it and he's like, "You've got this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm walking it." And then we went on a ride together and she saw me do it and she's like, "I can do it." And
Mm.
she didn't put me on this other level like I was a better rider than her or anything. We're equals, and she
Mm.
saw a woman do it, and it made her feel like, okay, it is possible.
And
And
I
so I
think,
think,
sorry, no,
no,
carry on.
no, that's
Well,
go.
that just reminded me of one of the key points I'd love to touch on before we wrap this up, which is, something I've seen over the years is like the representation in coaching, like that level 1 tier of certification. I don't have the exact numbers, but it feels like it's close to 50-50 men, women taking their level 1 coach, maybe 60-40. So I feel like in that sense, we can still do better. There's always room to improve. But as you go up to the sort of level 2, level 3, level 4 coach tiers, that's definitely where it gets a lot more male dominated. And what I'm starting to sense and feel is like, with the increased participation of women in these higher level freeride events, there's more of a representation, and like we've just been talking about, of showing those level 1 coaches that, like, you can do a black jump trail, you can teach on that black jump trail, and beyond that you could teach on a double black. And is that something you're working on either through your coaching, Lindsey, in terms of, I feel like as humans, we put barriers in ourselves too much, men and women. We doubt ourselves too much. I can't do that. And then you get into a process, you commit to setting goals, and before you know it, holy cow, I did that. And what can we do to encourage, and I would say women, but definitely both men and women, to continue through that coaching process and going up to those higher levels? Because I feel like if we have more women that can coach in the double blacks, the blacks, whether it's a cross country network or a bike park, again, that's representation. And again, that speaks to what you were just talking about. They've got a female coach showing them the gnarly stuff. And then, hey, what? She did it. I can do it. Can you maybe just speak to that a little bit, and what's your experience being through Ladies All Ride?
Yeah, I think that, we have coaches who've been coaching as long as I have, nearly 15 years. So we do have a handful of higher level coaches, but I will say it's harder to find those higher
Mm.
level coaches that we trust to handle airtime, putting people in the air, And I think with what Katie's doing, kind of mentoring these younger women in doing these higher level things, not only are they showing what's possible, they're showing they can also do it safely. Not everyone's crashing, they can do it safely. And
Yeah.
most likely the ones who are doing it at this high level have been on a progression journey to get there. You don't just start out hucking double black jumps, you've got to start somewhere. And so in our program, we have steps you have to go through to become a coach. You volunteer and then you become an assistant and then you work your way up from beginners. And I think step 1 is taking a lesson yourself to see what lessons are all about. Then working on your skills in a progressive way shows you what's possible. And then that will lead to people wanting to be higher level coaches. And because of what we're seeing with women in Rampage, like I just said, the goals of women are getting higher.
Mm.
They want to get in the air. They want to learn to jump and do some little tricks and stuff. So I would imagine that a next step for a lot of these free ride women, they're going to be like Katie and I are, where we are excited to
Mm.
pay it forward. We're excited to share all of this knowledge and what we've learned with other women. And that's my hope, is that these higher level riders who are getting into jumping and bigger things at a younger age, they're going to have such deep knowledge about how to do it progressively that I hope that that is our future of coaching, that these high level riders are going to step into coaching roles so that they can mentor people into coming up and doing these things. Because I'm not going to teach anyone how to tail whip, I'll tell you that right now, nor am I going to teach them how to hit a canyon gap. So I'll leave that to the young guns who already do that stuff. I'm not going to coach something I'm not going to do. And I am super honest about that. So I do see that because of what Katie is helping build, those are the future of coaches, I would imagine, because they're going to want to pay it forward because it's being paid forward to them. And that's just the full circle that we're trying to create here.
That's my hope too, is that's where I see the potential for the current state of women in mountain biking is this sort of free ride athlete development stream. Essentially, the goal is to try and link that to the coaching stream, and then it goes back to that, lift as you rise, and then it's those two streams helping each other, really.
Just to piggyback onto that, I think that right now, especially like on the upper end of downhill, like World Cup racing, and then also on the freeride side, it feels like there's an abundance of opportunities on the women's side that haven't really been available. Like I mean, I'm seeing throughout my career, those opportunities weren't available. And especially like I would say like the last 5 years ago, there's definitely, there's a need for more opportunities, but there's a lot more than there was. But part of that is kind of everyone finding their way and kind of figuring out, okay, like what are actually the career paths here? Like, is it an athlete I want to be? Is it a coach that I want to be? Do I want to be a judge? Do I want to be a media person? Do I want to be a hybrid of multiple things? And I think that right now we're kind of in a period where that's kind of getting shaked out, or like people are trying to just figure out their place. And I think that once that people understand that being a coach, like an advanced coach, is like a real legitimate career path, I think we'll see some of that talent who like maybe they don't see themselves competing in Rampage or like gold level F&B events someday, but they have all of those skills and they would rather put that onto the coaching and development side. So I really hope that some of those athletes kind of see that path and see that that's like a real legitimate fulfilling path that creates the future of the sport. So I'll certainly do my best to push some of the girls that way.
Send them our way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining us today. And I hope you know that you both are planting seeds far and wide for a lot of people and giving a lot of women the representation needed in our industry. So thank you very much. It's been an honor.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you all. Yeah. It's been fun chatting.
Right.
I feel like we could do part 2 and part 3, but thank you so much for your time, Lindsey and Katie. You're both amazing, and your impact is more than you know. So thank you for everything that you've done in the industry.
And so is yours,
Yeah.
After taking that first certification course way back when, it changed my life. And I refuse to let anyone else coach me but Paul. So that's where I'm at.
Right.
Yeah,
on.
you've had such an insane impact on me personally, but also the mountain bike community as a whole. Globally, but like within Whistler and all of that. So yeah.
Awesome.
So appreciative.
Hugs and high fives all around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Safe travels, Katie.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Katie.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank
See
you,
ya.
Lindsey.
Okay. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
It's
so much,
wonderful.
Lindsey.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, thanks, you too.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.